Hey guys, this is Vox, and I'm bringing you an Adamancipator Deck profile for Master Duel Season 5, Diamond 1. And before you ask, I know, why the fuck would someone spend the time and effort to make a deck profile for a deck that has been solved since the release of the game? You have sites like Master Duel Meta, where you can just see a deck, copy it, play it, right? So I'm gonna go straight to the point. I choose to actually make this video to showcase some spice that are integrated into the deck, which I haven't seen anyone use, and I feel like they are so strong and so complemental to the deck. And obviously I want to just show it to the world. Maybe it helps you actually rank up. And obviously I also want to mention, before I go into the deck profile really quick, is that for the ban list thing, right, in which people complained that it wasn't enough, if you play Adamancipator, you know that the hit on Analyzer and Roxys hurts quite a lot. And the reason it hurts, its consistency, is you will see your hands in which you will break so many times, right? Or you will whiff because you draw only one of your Adamancipator monsters, and it's so frustrating. Like, I remember moments where I would have two Adamancipator monsters and I would whiff with both of them, and I literally wanted to smash my fucking desk in half, right? I wanted to break everything in my room. I was so mad. Like, Roxys, like the hit on Roxys prevents you from discarding the other Roxys because you want to keep both of them either in your hand or your deck. If you actually want to resolve Meow Meow Moo into going to Do 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 Do, you also want to get the draw to special summon the dropsies. But I will go into the deck profile and explain why I choose to run the cards that I run. Either way, I choose to run for hand traps first, triple as Blossom. I choose to run the Cypher and Gamma package with one driver, and I also run obviously the 3 Maxi with 2 Called by the Grave. I feel like the triple Maxi, triple Ash Blossom, and 2 Called by the Grave is the standard for every deck that you choose to play. Like, literally every deck that you choose to play, you can instantly drop this in and wouldn't be a fault. You wouldn't actually make a mistake by doing that. Run 1 Mecha Phantom Beast or Lion because you run Haki Fibrax, because you summon that off of Haki Pyrax. Triple Doki Doki, this card is insane. You discard 1 rock monster as a cost, so you can actually make plays by having that monster that you want to discard in the graveyard. I will go more into detail in a bit. 1 Prankage Dropsies with the 2 Prankage Roxys because I run the Prankage lineup. And for the people that ask, in case you didn't know, the Prankage lineup for Adamancipator, for Master Duel specifically, is absolutely insane. Not only you will get the draw from Prankage Roxys and then the extra special summon from Dropsies to summon the other Roxys from your deck or your hand in case you draw it. Not only you get the draw, you also get the Earth monsters in your graveyard, in which you actually want that very much, because you want to have Earth monsters in your graveyard to actually use your Block Dragon, which is literally the win condition of your deck. Like, the extra deck obviously is your win condition, but what I'm trying to say is that your Block Dragon, if you manage to resolve him even once, the advantage that you get from it is insane. So yeah, obviously we ran the entirety of the Adamancipator package: triple Seeker, triple Researcher, 2 Analyzer. These are your excavates, the way you would actually use them. If you draw all 3 of them in your opening hand, you would normal summon Adamancipator Analyzer. You wouldn't activate the effect because you don't want to get gammed, right? And then you would either special summon Seeker or Researcher, and then the last one. But always remember that if you have 2 of the Adamancipator monsters in your hand, never, when you normal summon the first one, activate the effect of the first one, in case you get gammed, because if you get gammed, then you won't have a follow-up, and then you will straight up pass. Then 1 Gigantes, I have seen some people run 2, I think is over excessive. 1 is fine because you can search it off your Block Dragon, obviously. Triple Quackimaru Guardian, that card is insane. Like, most of the time, especially if you reach Diamond 1, you know that if you play this deck, the moment you excavate Quackimaru Guardian, they instantly like scoop, they just surrender, because they know that what's coming, it's like unavoidable, right? Now, the spice of the deck, Chronomally Colossal Head. Now, you could ask, who the fuck would run this card, right? But if you read this, it says, if you banish it from the graveyard, you can target 1 level 3 or higher attack position monster on the field, and you either change it to face up or face down defense position. Once per 10, we don't care about that. Why this card is powerful? is because you will notice situations where, and I have a replay for it, which is versus an Invoked deck, right? An Invoked Shaddoll deck. And what it does is like if you play this game long enough, you know that they will want to resolve their Shaddoll Schism into your turn to summon Winda the moment that you try to special summon first, so they would chain, and when the chain resolves, you already special summoned, like you did your one special summon for the turn because they winded you before, and then they have locked you. With this card, you just banish it from the graveyard if you manage to get it there, with cards like Doki, which discards for costs, which means that they cannot negate that. And if you manage to get Chromatic Colossal Head into the graveyard, you just banish it and then just turn this window into face down, or maybe one of the Borlord Savage Dragons that I may have that actually locks you into your extra deck. Like you will actually find situations where you will have a full comp, like 4 cards in your hand, right? You can actually play, like they will have 3 or 4 monsters, right? And then let's say you have in your hand one Chromatic Colossal Head, one Analyzer, and any other Adamancipator name. You could literally just normal summon your Colossal Head, suicide into one of his monsters, banish it, and then just turn off one of his monsters into face down. And at worst, you just get a negate of one of his monsters, right? Then I choose to run one Adamancipator Crystal Tigrite. This is basically one of the many rock options, like rock level 4 monsters that you can actually add into the deck. I chose to run this because at worst, if you draw it and then you have an Adamancipator Seeker or Researcher into your hand, you can just normal summon this and just special summon one of the 2 that you have in your hand and then go from there. I feel like even the draw comes up a lot, can help, but most of the times it's not really necessary. Triple Quacky Mirror Supplier, standard again. This card is insane. If you actually manage to get its special effect when you actually use your rock monsters in your turn, obviously, right? When you use your rock monsters to climb into more links for your Abelusa or for your Gallant Granite, for example, to get your Block Dragon from your deck, you get another body into the field in which you can just use that to build your end board. Obviously, triple Block Dragon, the win condition of the deck. Everybody hates this card. This card is absolutely insane. Why it's 3, nobody knows, but I guess it helps the deck so much to the point where if you know how to resolve it, and what I mean by that is you resolve it once in your turn, and then you obviously every single time you want to have it in your field to either use it and resolve it again on your opponent's turn if you can. Let's say you might have an IP Masquerena, which I will go in a bit. Just run one Nibiru because you can search it at worst, but you probably never will. One Monster Reborn. Why do I run one Monster Reborn? A lot of people will ask, surely. Because I ran triple Doki. What I found is that when your opponent doesn't have Maxi, but he has As Blossom, what I will choose to do is I will use Doki, use its effect to discard like one Seeker or Researcher or Analyzer, doesn't matter, one of the Adamancipator names, and I want to bait the Ash. He will Ash me, because you will think that by just immediately using the effect without special summoning Researcher, for example, you will immediately think that I don't have anything in my hand, which could be true. Discarding the Adamancipator, right? Bait the Ash, my Doki will get dashed, and then I will use the Master Reborn, get one of the Adamancipator cards that I chose to discard with Doki, get into the field, and go to my place. I feel like Master Reborn is pretty fucking solid. You could even use it for situations like just getting another bot into the field. But I actually found out that with Doki, it's almost never a break because you can utilize it to bait that hand trap. Now to the extra deck, it's pretty standard. Like if you saw with the deck profiles, or you saw, as I've mentioned before, the Master Duel meta site, which is incredible again, I want to mention it in case you don't know it. You will notice that the extra deck, is pretty standard. One Adamancipator Reason, one Savage Dragon, Borlord Savage Dragon, one Dragite, one Deflor, and I chose to run one Changing. The reason I chose to run one Changing is because you can resolve him every single time the moment you choose to do so. This card is insane for this deck. It gets 100 attack and defense for every monster you have banished, and obviously your opponent loses attack as well. And you can just keep banishing cards to save him, right? But that's not even the most important part. The important part is if a card is banished, you can banish one card from your opponent's field and graveyard. And which cards help you banish from your graveyard, you may ask. You have Block Dragon, you have your Colossal Head, funnily enough, right? So you can actually resolve his effect, like, pretty commonly, right? You will actually see games in which you will go into your Baron, and then you will find games in which you will notice you would either want to go into your Link lineup with having one Appaloosa, obviously, right? But then you could go, instead of having the Appaloosa, or then going, or actually not instead of having Appaloosa, but instead of going into IP, into something else from your links, you could actually go into a Chain King, right? And by going into Chain King, you have like a big body on the board, and when you can resolve your Block Dragon again, banish something from his field or graveyard. I feel like this card fills into the deck so well, it's incredible. One Gallant Granite, pretty standard. One Link Spider for your Mega Beast or Lion. When it goes to the graveyard, summon a token. You use the token to get the Link Spider to the deck. For the people that don't understand why you run Link Spider to the deck, is because it's an Earth monster. You want to get into your graveyard to actually fill your Block Dragons, right? As I've mentioned before, run the Prankins lineup, which is Prankins, Meow Mew, and then Doddle Do. One Crystal Hulky Fibrax, pretty standard. IP Masquerena is absolutely insane, with Nightmare Unicorn, and then your Appaloosa, your Access Code Talker, and the last options that I chose to run, Otherworld Goddess of the Closed World. This card is phenomenal. Nobody expects it. Almost no one runs this card, right? And you can actually go into it if you have IP Masquerena. Let's say you have IP Masquerena with your Boarlord Savage Dragon, one Baron on the floor, and like two other links, like one Crystal Hulky Fibrax, and like your Appaloosa. And you used all your negates with your Appaloosa, they're still going through, they haven't entered the battle phase to get your Appaloosa. You can actually just use your IP Masquerena right there, and then go into your Otherworld Goddess of the Closed World, use one of their monsters that is key for their setup, and then you stop them right there. And also, the good thing with this card is that the moment you Link summon her, right, you negate every single face-up monster that your opponent currently controls. It's also unaffected by activated effects unless they target this card, and once per turn, if they try to special summon a monster from the graveyard, you can negate that. A 3k bit stick in which you make it with your IP, your Block Dragon, in which case you will probably resolve unless they just call by the grave or just use a hand trap to stop it. And then one of your other two monsters, and one of their own obviously, you just stop them right there, and then I feel like it's incredible. You also protect her with Heavy Masquerena with the effect. Most people forget that when you use IP Masquerena to Link Climb, IP Masquerena gives a protection to that card that cannot be destroyed by card effects, right? Which is really important. So that's the deck profiled. Now I will go to some replays and showcase the power of the spice cards that I chose to run. On the first replay, it's versus Invoked Shaddoll, and you see my opening hand, I bricked entirely. And this was the deck profile before I go, that I didn't have the third Doki Doki, and I chose to run Rockstone Warrior. If you're wondering why I ran this card, you can read it. It's basically a token generator, just generates 2 tokens that you could use for Link climbing, etc. But I chose to run this before I had the third Doki Doki. But yeah, that doesn't matter. Let's go into the replay. I bricked, just like normal summon that monster, called by the Graved. He goes for Magical Meltdown, normal summon Alistair. I maxed him right there, because I know that you'll probably go into his Link to actually get the cards in the graveyard for his invocation. He searches his invocation. He just going doing his thing. He plays Grass Looks Greener. Okay, 60 card Invoked Shaddoll deck. Resolves like 3 or 4 cards in his graveyard. His Squamata, his Core, his Beast. I chose to call by the grave his Beast actually to deny him the draw. Like at this point in my mind, I was like, I'm lost, right? I don't think I have like a win condition. That's why I chose to call by the grave there, honestly. Squamata resolves, sending Ariel. Hedgehog resolves, getting his chromatic hand, and then his Shaddoll Beast, in which he would draw. I chose to negate with Cold Eye. He uses effects for Shaddoll Ariel, special summoning one card in the field. Fusion summons, sending the Kaiju to making a Shaddoll construct. Pretty standard. I draw into Gamma, because I might see him earlier, right? He uses Invocation, banishing Alistair the Light Kaiju. He will go into his Mecha buff, which is his negate, in case you didn't know. He uses effect Invocation from the graveyard. He's taking the Alistair that is banished, getting to the hand. It's a standard, like if you play it against Invoked Shaddoll, you know how it works. And there, it's the bane of every deck's existence, Winda. And at this point, he's actually choosing to link line with it, which I feel like it's a misplay. He goes into Selene, like obviously realizes at this point, he wants to kill me, right? He wants to go to his access code line because he wants to kill me. He's using his effects from graveyard, he resolves, he wants to send cards to the graveyard or get from the graveyard. He's getting his Shaddoll Fusion to the hand. From Inda, Construct gets his Schism. Pretty standard. Selene is gonna use his 3 spell counters, special summon the beast, link climb into access code. And then here comes his disappointment. Obviously using Selene to go to 5.3k, banishing it to destroy Rockstone Warrior. Quackimiru Supplier activates from hand, because Quackimiru says when a face-up rogue monster you control is sent to the graveyard, except during damage step, so don't forget that. Activates this effect where you can special summon him to the field. He chains Mechaba, and I actually had Gamma in my hand. I chained Gamma into my hand, and the effects resolve. Gamma special summons into the field, negating Mechaba and destroying it, and then Supplier also a special summon to the field, in which he will search me, Quackimiru Guardian. And at this point, he just attacks once. Then phase 2, sets 2. The Gamma monster is getting banished. I draw Block Dragon, which is actually really fucking good. Normal Summon Guardian. I'm trying to special research on his Shaddoll Schism. Obviously, you know which monster he will actually try to special summon, but that is obviously Winda. Winda special summon to the field. That's what I meant by what I said earlier with Schism. Before he used it in a proper chain, I can't special summon. I have to actually pass. His turn, he activates Dasher because you draw the Kaiju, and I actually choose to negate that immediately. Because if you actually got that Kaiju into the field, I would lose. I negate the Dasher to Quackimiru Guardian, and then Quackimiru Supplier effect activates from the field. I can special summon him, get another Guardian to hand. Have 2 bodies on the field now, in which I can survive. Another invocation from the graveyard. He activates that, getting one of the Alistair that is banished. I get invocation back to the deck. He activates Alistair and just adds that immediately. He's going to go into his light link now. He's playing Artemis instead of Sigurd now. He's going to use access code as fodder. That link as a fodder. Break one monster. Destroy the other with a normal attack. Attack him straight face. He ends. I'm drawing one Ash. Pretty solid. Now I activate my Colossal in the graveyard. I banish it. Right? And if you noticed, I banished my Colossal in the graveyard. Now Winda is face down. That means her effect is off, obviously, right? You can actually play now. Activate Doki Doki, send Quackimiru Guardian to the graveyard, special summon Analyzer, and then you go off. And at this point, you have won, right? Like, if his face down card was actually decent, he would use it right there and then. At this point, he doesn't have a second Winda, obviously, so he goes for his Apkalone to negate my Raptide, which is pretty good. So I choose to run and go, actually, into my Prankit lineup with Nyanyamu. My Roxas will activate from grave. I will just banish one card from my hand, draw into the other Roxas, which is kind of bad. But still, it doesn't really matter. Going into Prankit Zodal Do. Prankit drops activates from hand, from grave to special summon one Roxas from hand of the deck. Link climb into Unicorn. Unicorn effect will activate to his face down, in which that face down is Shaddoll fusion, which is kind of annoying, but doesn't really matter again, because we have so much follow-up on hand, right? He goes into his construct, he uses his face down window, construct activates, window activates to get his Shaddoll fusion. Like at this point, we don't really care, right? Like his card on hand could be Nibiru, but it really isn't. He actually hurts himself more with Nibiru than us. We get Block Dragon and he bans his 3 monsters with Adamancipator, but we don't care. We just use Block Dragon, bans the 3. Link Climb into access code. Or I know Appaloosa, I think we go. Yeah, we go Appaloosa. We have the negate in case he has Nibiru. Use Block Dragon, get 1 Seeker, 1 Researcher, and the other Analyzer, because I already had Gigantes in hand. Special Summon Seeker, and we go full comp from here. Like, it's done, right? We have Appaloosa in hand in case he has Nibiru or something to disrupt us. Like at this point we just go big dick, all in. Get Raptide. Activate Raptide, and you will see we actually excavate 4 rock monsters. That was incredibly lucky. Like even 2 would actually suffice, but 4 was insane. Researcher whiffs. That's what I meant, but he surrenders. So you saw the power of the Colossal Head, right? That actually won me the game. For the second game, you can see my opening hand going first. Again, the standard breaks that I always drew was like 1 Mega Phantom Beast or Lion in my hand, every single time. Thankfully I didn't whiff. I got the Supplier. Supplier adds me Cogmere Guardian. You know how it goes. Going into Raptide, the standard. Going into the general plays for Adamancipator. If you don't know the Adamancipator lineup or how to play the deck, and if you're interested in knowing, just let me know in the comments, and I could actually just make a simple tutorial in which I can showcase how the deck works. It's pretty easy, honestly, if you understand the basics. I'm not commenting on the replay because it's obvious. It just goes off from the excavates and the special summons. Going to the Granite, obviously, because you want to go and get your Block Dragon. And Block Dragon basically unbricks every single hand that you might have. You could literally have 0 hands in your hand, and if you can get Block Dragon resolved, you can still make huge plays. Going to IP to resolve my Block Dragon, getting the Researchers, 1 Gigantes and 1 Seeker, pretty standard. Activating Seeker, Researcher, sorry. Excavating, getting at least 1. Thankfully we didn't whiff. Getting the Guardian, which is pretty good. Using Guardian, making Crystal Huggy Fibrax. Do not forget to actually utilize your Crystal Huggy Fibrax if you have a tuner on your field. Don't forget that. Because you can then, that tuner that you use for Crystal Huggy Fibrax, you can use with Mega Phantom Beast or Lion, right? You don't really lose anything. You actually gain more cards in the graveyard and links that you can utilize for your Warlord Savage Dragon, and then obviously your Block Dragon. Their effects resolve, and if you see at these replays, I actually still run the Dragon Buster lock with Union Carrier, and the deck profile actually removed them because I kept bricking with Dragon Buster. I was so tired of drawing it, I just completely removed it from the deck because it was so sticky. Like 8 out of 10 big games I would have it in my hand. It was ridiculous. I'm like, fuck this card. But either way, just going the entire comp, right? Doing the board, Union Carrier. Wasn't the best finishing board, but it gets the job done. I instantly maxing him on like the draw phase. He goes Infinity Permanence, negate it, doesn't matter. Just basically he got the Omni negate that I had. Now the only disruption that I have is 3 monster negates and 1 IP Masquerade. He researches his Rose, he Forbidden Droplets, obviously. If you notice, if you play Adamancipator and you go full comp and they don't leave, 99% of the times they have Forbidden Droplet in their hand. So, you know the vein. They do their comp. They go off. Gagari special summoned. She resolves. But we have Maxi, don't forget. We keep drawing. She's getting her engage. Activate engage. Going to the deck. Now this card is actually pretty messy against our deck. She's using Sarganon to get Mecha Fadobista line from our graveyard with his to go into his Crystal Haki Fibrax, which is pretty fucking good, honestly. Draw Gamma, which was useless. My Nibiru as well in my hand is useless. Not really useless, actually. You will see that I use it, but in situations in which you would rather, what I'm trying to say, you would rather have something else. Goes into his access codes. Okay, he wants to finish me. I understand that. Yeah, sure. He goes, bans the Celine, destroying Warlord Savage. He's going into his effects. I'm gonna resolve Block Dragon. Quackimir also from the hand, so special summon to the field. Block Dragon resolves. Gets me the Researcher, gets me one Roxy's. Couldn't get anything else, I feel like. Banishing Agari, destroying Evolution, and then I'm just gonna Nibiru him right there. And he scoops. That was pretty much it. Like, that was it, guys. If you have any suggestions, maybe if you want a different kind of video where I would explain or go more into detail on how you play this deck, let me know in the comments below. But either way, that was it for the day. Take care now. Bye bye then.